I'm standing on the eastern escarpment of the Great Rift Valley. It marks the western boundary of Samburu district. I first stood here when I was a small girl of only 9. My parents brought me. Then, when I was 16, I dreamed that I was standing here again. Only this time, there was an enormous crowd of Samburu standing all around me and behind me. I didn't understand my dream at all, but it was so vivid that I had to write it down. In 1972, I came back here as an adult to try and understand my dream. I've been coming back 100 times since then. I've come back. I'm still following that dream. I'm still trying to understand it. I lead a double life. I am at home in the world of Mozart, good food, books and art. But another part of me yearns to be in the bush and to leave so-called civilization behind me. My life is unique in that I now have 2 mothers. One, my biological mother, who comes from Romania, and the other, a woman of the Samburu tribe, who live in northern Kenya. It is time to go and visit her. The drive is long, but I enjoy it. At last, I see in front of me the Kirisia Hills. The capital of Samburu district lies just ahead. The name of the township comes from the tin roofs on all the houses here. These were the first metal roofs the Samburu had ever seen. Because they catch the sun, the town is called Maralal, meaning shining. Maralal has grown over the years into a town of roughly 30,000 people. The population is a mixture of Samburu, Turkana, Kikuyu, and Somali people, and presents a blending of all these exotic cultures. The old world mixes happily with the new. My Samburu mother lives on a small hillside outside Maralal. I met Lekaipi Lelenguya, a blacksmith of the tribe, in 1972. He and his wife and Taipi invited me to their homestead to learn how spears and arrows were made. I met their sons, Kayai and Lerezi. After many years of friendship, Ntaipi decided to adopt me as her daughter. She gave me her blessing and my Samburu elder's name. Because of this, I am well known here and am invited to all the ceremonies. In the old days, everyone here spoke only Ma. Then Kiswahili, Kenya's national language, crept into use. Now all the young people go to school and English is the language of the day. I asked my good friend Ilkitasian for the latest news. At the time we first met, the family lived in an area called Bawa, near a small wind-swept hill called Ler. Ler was inhabited by Samburu ancestors in the time of old Lekaipi's grandfather, over 100 years ago. Circles of small standing stones held down the goatskins that formed the huts. Ler is still used as a meeting place for the elders. When important decisions have to be made for the welfare of the tribe, the elders withdraw to a quiet place. While they are in seclusion, they must be fed. Warriors sharpen their knives on a whetting stone and bring cattle or goats for slaughter. The elders remain here until a consensus is reached. Oh look, there's the plant that they use for ochre. Here, can you hold this for me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Look, this is the most wonderful plant. The Samburu like to put ochre on their bodies when they're going to have a ceremony. And when they can't find ochre in the soil, they use this plant, which makes a very nice red color. The Samburu are pastoralists who occupy an area in the north of Kenya, 1/10 the size of France. Initially, they herded cattle. Goats and sheep became a part of their culture, and recently, camels. There are perhaps 140,000 Samburu, of whom most live in the Kirisia Hills around Maralal, or around the township of Isiolo. The remainder are widely scattered throughout the more arid areas of the district. Where did the Samburu come from originally? According to legend, they came to Earth from the planet Venus. Their earthly home is open to question. The generally accepted belief is that they are an offshoot of the larger Masai tribe, and certainly the language is similar. But after my many years of research, I do not believe the Samburu and the Masai were originally one people. Oral history puts Samburu origins in the Horn of Africa, while the Masai claim to have come from Upper Egypt. For unknown reasons, both tribes were forced to migrate southwards. The Samburu reached Lake Stephanie. At some point, they were conquered by the Masai, and the migration continued as a united people. Gradually, the Samburu acquired a few Masai traditions. The people came into what is now Kenya, down the western side of Lake Turkana, 300 or 400 years ago. Near the southern tip of the lake, legend has it that a disagreement arose. Those who continued southwards along the Rift Valley are the Masai of today, while those who broke off and turned eastwards became the Samburu people. The Samburu were free to return to their original beliefs. These include a strong attachment to planets and major stars. Star law governs every single aspect of Samburu life. Ntaipi was lucky in that she married for love. It was more usual then for a father to arrange a marriage. Traditionally, the bride leaves her homestead and follows her husband to his. The elders line up on either side of the gateway and raise their peace sticks high. They bless the couple, praying for health, many cattle, and many, many children. Westerners view the constellation of Orion as a great hunter, but over the equator, Orion lies upon its side. The Samburu see these stars as God's family in the sky. Whenever a couple is married, the constellation must be replicated upon Earth by human counterparts. The bridal procession forms what we call the belt. The elders represent the 4 major stars. Near to where I first met Ntaipi is a place called Kisima. Kisima is an underground spring, a permanent source of water. For this reason, it is sacred and important to the people of this area. In the rainy season, Kisima expands to become a small lake. Before a boy can be circumcised, he comes here to perform certain rituals. For the women, Kisima has a different meaning, a rather sad one. In the middle of the lake is a large rock, which can only be reached in times of serious drought. At such times, the women come here to pray for the survival of the people. The last prayers took place in 1996. For everyone, Kisima holds yet another meaning. When the people lived on Venus, God created a new world and invited the Samburu to visit it. He created a long ladder down which they could walk, together with their cattle. Current popular belief is that the ladder ended upon this very rock. Ntaipi is an old-fashioned woman, adhering to ancient custom. Every morning and evening, she prays to Venus to look after her family. Lekaipe died many years ago, and his last instructions to the family were to leave Bawa and move closer to Maralal. The move was not good for Ntaipi, and the years since his death have been hard for her. Leresi moved to Germany to earn a better living shoeing horses. He left behind his Samburu wife and children, and visits when he can. Kayai became a drunkard and is in prison now, accused of murder. Ntaipi has no sons to help her in her daily life. She relies on the menfolk of her extended family. She also relies on God. When Kayai married, his wife gave birth to a daughter and then ran away, abandoning the baby. Ntaipi, not wishing to see her grandchild die of hunger, raised the baby to her withered breasts and prayed for milk to come. In defiance of all medical belief, Ntaipi suckled her own granddaughter. She is held in high esteem as a very holy woman. Ntaipi's granddaughter, Anesi, is now 18 years old. Her ambition is to become a teacher. Beads came to the Samburu in the mid-19th century. Until then, they wore coils of heavy metal. Ntaipi wears the traditional marriage necklace, made from the hairs of a giraffe tail. It is decorated with glass beads, made in Venice 150 years ago. Girls and women of the tribe usually wear a special forehead ornament. The colors of the beads represent different aspects of Samburu culture. The pendant is a reminder of Venus. In the old days, of course, the njili would have been made from something like bone or leather. But with the advent of aluminium, the Samburu women prefer that material because it shines so beautifully in the sun. How did the people get their name? They always call themselves Loikop, meaning those who owned the earth. The name Samburu came to them from outside, and there are two interpretations. One is that the name was derived from the leather bag a woman carries her personal belongings in, called a sambur. The more accepted belief is that they are named after the word sampirimpiri, meaning a butterfly. For this reason, I call them the butterfly people. The Samburu follow an age grade system, which is like a ladder representing their social structure. They move step by step up this ladder, from childhood to maturity to wisdom and old age. Marriages take place between girls aged 15 or 16 and junior elders who are usually a decade or so older. A warrior is not allowed to marry because he is too aggressive and unsettled for such responsibilities. The most important day in the life of a Samburu is the day of circumcision, when everyone moves up one step. Circumcisions are rare in Samburu culture, taking place many years apart. Their purpose is to create a new generation of warriors. For these ceremonies, they need good rains, peace, healthy cattle, and healthy people. These stipulations come but rarely. The last circumcisions were in 1990. We are now in 2005, and it is time for circumcisions again. Everyone contributes towards feeding the group, and the local livestock market becomes the center of activity. My contribution is a large quantity of maize meal and sugar. Since I am in town, I decide to stop for something to eat and a chance to chat with old friends. The Samburu are divided into 8 clans, and 8 is the Samburu holy number. All rituals involve 8 or 4, a more practical half number. The boys of each clan who are going to be initiated form a group called a lorora. They live in the forest for a time, together with their families. I am with the initiates of the blacksmith clan. There are 32 boys here, aged between 10 and 22. Warriors are here to assist the younger boys and anyone else who may need them. Ceremonies take place on even days, following a new moon or a full moon. For circumcision, the boys wear a goatskin cape, blackened in the ashes of a fire. Dangling down their back is a necklace terminating in 8 strings of beads and 2 beetle wings. The order of events never changes, but the timing may, depending on local conditions. Preparations begin with the initiates making a journey to a nearby hill or mountain, where each boy cuts 8 long staves from certain trees that grow there. All proceedings are organized by the elders, who meet in a small thorn bush enclosure. It is August now, and butterflies are out in full force. boys return to the settlement singing a moving prayer for strength and courage, called the Lebata. Each boy is circumcised sitting on a cowhide. Knives and axes are laid upon the hides, together with a few blades of grass. The elders pour a little milk onto each hide as a special blessing. The next step involves a journey to a source of water, in this case, Kisima. The boys leave, escorted by warriors. The elders bless them as they set off. It is a 2-hour march to Kisima, but the boys arrive in good spirits. Girls undergo a minor form of circumcision when they are 15 or 16 years old. Several are included in this group. The initiates drink from the spring and daub their bodies with clay. They pluck marsh grass from the verges. Now comes the long march back. While they have been away, their mothers have been hard at work collecting branches and leaves from 4 different trees and shrubs. These will be used to make new beds inside the huts for the initiates to rest on after their ordeal. We hear the Lebata in the distance. It is a time of great tension and emotion. Some of the boys arrive in a dreadful state and have to be carried into their mothers' huts. Both boys and warriors may fall into epileptic fits. Their bodies spasm and somersault uncontrollably. Preparations begin before dawn. A ritual follows between each initiate and his mother. As she milks a cow, he puts his head under her ochred cape. This signifies that he is still a child and in need of her. It's time for another prayer. The Samburu are divided into 2 groups, known as the right hand and the left hand. The right hand leads the way. Two brothers in Ntaipi's family form the right hand. Loeku will be circumcised first. Lobulu will be second. The others follow, in prescribed order. Loeku sits on a stool outside his mother's hut while she shaves his hair. This is collected in a small stool to which milk is added. Two older men, who act as his godfathers, cut new sandals for him. A goat is smothered and blood is collected. Additional blood is taken from the jugular vein of a cow. Girls undergo an excision of the clitoris carried out by a female circumciser, and the girl is assisted by two godmothers. Sex with an uncircumcised girl is forbidden. Girls are usually circumcised just before marriage, but nowadays the operation may be performed as a preventive measure, so that if the girl is tempted into premarital sex, the taboo will not be broken. After shaving, the mother pours milk onto her head, and she is led inside the hut. HIV/AIDS awareness has reached the Samburu. In the past, a circumciser might use one knife on all initiates. Now a fresh knife or razor blade is used for each operation. The circumciser appears, and the boy sits calmly down upon his cowhide. To cry out brings shame upon the family. The elders crowd around to witness his behavior. Not a whimper is heard. Initiates are carried into the hut and given fresh blood to drink. Recovery is swift. Finally, the women throw the stomach contents of a cow onto each hut as a special blessing. After the ceremonies in 1990, I asked the elders how they know when to hold them. I was told that at the foot of their holy mountain there lived a holy man who made the decision for them. I decided to go to Mount Nero to find this venerable sage. I left the green Kirisia hills and headed north along a stony, narrow track into a harsh and arid land. In front, at last, lay the long grey shadow of the mountain. I walked across the hot lava plains with a young boy to guide me. Hours later, we came to the humble homestead. To my astonishment, the old man had dreamed that I was coming and was waiting for me. He was dying when I met him, and there was time for one question only. "Old man, how do you know when the Samburu should circumcise the next generation?" "I talk to Venus," he said. I was so moved by this experience that I commissioned Ugandan artist Jack Katarikawe to paint my story for me. Angels crept into the picture, and a small star appeared on my ear, which Jack said was there to guide me. The old man came from a long lineage of astronomers who foretell the future for the tribe. He died shortly after I met him, leaving two sons to carry on the family tradition. Ldumeme, who lives at the base of Mount Nero, announced that 2005 would again be a year for circumcisions. Lturpuset has come to this Lorora, and I decide to ask him what the stars have told him. He says that this generation of warriors will still respect the elders and will still follow ancient tradition. I ask him when the next circumcisions will take place. At this time, Venus and Jupiter are talking to each other, and he cannot disturb them. When they move apart in opposite directions, he will ask them. What the star experts say regarding the location or movement of planets can be confirmed by star charts or by a planetarium. After the ceremonies, the fathers wear special ornaments, which show they are now senior elders. While they are healing from their circumcision, the boys make blunted arrows from their 8 staves. In the old days, they killed small birds, which were then stuffed with grass and stitched onto a woven headband as a sign of their prowess as hunters. Nowadays, it is possible to buy birds from the Kenya Wildlife Society. We now come to the ceremony of the arrows, the day on which the old warriors retire and the new generation takes over. Marilal has changed in the interim. The rains have come. For the Samburu, this is a great blessing, and women come to Kisima to give thanks to God. Nature provides more rain than is required. The roads gradually become impassable, and the ceremony is postponed. At last, there is a short break in the thunderstorms. The moon is propitious, and the elders decide to go ahead. In contrast to the tensions of circumcision, today is a day of happiness. Small fires are lit using embers from the mother's huts. Barbecue pits are dug. The beasts are brought in for slaughter. Meat is cut up into portions and distributed according to tradition. Every initiate undergoes special rituals with his warrior assistant to symbolize the transfer of power from one generation to another. He wears goatskin garters to indicate he now has the strength of a lion. To prove his strength, he smashes a large bone with one blow. Meat is brought to a pre-selected tree. The people gather in age grades, and everyone shares the feast. Each boy takes a piece of meat to his mother, who is waiting in her hut. As he hands it to her, he thanks her for having taken care of him all these years. He is no longer her responsibility. From today, he is a man. Heads are shaved again. The new warriors daub themselves with ochre and wrap themselves in white cloth. They squat or sit in the doorway and shoot off their arrows toward small boys who have gathered outside the hut. They will be the next generation to be circumcised. Today, they begin their move up the social ladder. At last comes the celebration. The dancing continues all night. Meanwhile, outside in Taipi's hut, her friends have gathered to celebrate with a dance of their own. Taipi used to be such a vigorous dancer, yet now I notice how tired she is. Will this be the last time I see her? I ask her to give me her blessing. The Samburu rely heavily on fortune tellers. I visit a milk diviner to ask him to read the future for the people. The children have been suffering from serious coughs and colds, but this illness is passing now. The planet Mercury tells him there will be a disease that will kill many goats. The circumcisions of all 8 clans will be completed by April 2006. There will be no war between the Samburu and their westerly neighbors, the Pokot. However, fighting continues between the Pokot and the Turkana, who live to the north. When Mars rises in the south, peace will shortly follow. People like Taipi and her generation represent the past. Those like Ukitasian or Anesi or Loeku, they represent the future.
Now my career, I'm going to...
Loeku believes that some warriors, like himself, will pursue a higher education or even a career. Others will remain here to take care of the livestock. Every Samburu belongs to the Samburu community. Everyone must help that community to survive. What will happen to the Samburu? What will happen to the butterfly people? For now, the fortune tellers agree that this generation will still respect the elders and follow ancient tradition. After that, we wait for the stars to speak.